So you should have done this warm-up. Let's look at the list of insects. Which insect is the longest? Which insect is the longest? Dominic? The last one? Mosquitoes? Not mosquitoes. Let's look at these fractions. Which one is the biggest? Which fraction is the biggest fraction? Isabella? The cricket.
I was correct.
The cricket. How did we know that the cricket's the longest, Jaden?
Because it's like legit 1 and 1.
Yeah, it's 1/1. That means it's one whole. Everything else is less than one whole. Everything else is less. This is 3/4, 1/3, 3/4, 1/4, 1/2 this. So now we're gonna shade in our regions. It's super easy. It's super easy. Ready? What would we shade in for a housefly? How much does a housefly length?
1/4.
Yeah, so we scribble 1/4. What about a fire ant? What is it, Kyle? 1/3. And we're smart people. We've passed second grade. Which is bigger, 1/3 or 1/4?
1/3.
1/3, exactly. So then they ask how many insects are longer than 0.5 inches. 0.5 is half. Is the green June beetle more?
No.
More than a half.
I'm just saying.
So it's more than a half. The cricket's more than a half. Fire ant is not. Firefly is. Housefly is not. Japanese beetle's technically not because it says longer, and mosquito is. So that's how we go. That's really what it is. So all we're doing is the same as our other homework. Look at this. -1.2 and 0.8. Who can tell me which one's bigger? Who can tell me which one's bigger? Chase. 0.8. We know that already because this is a negative, so it's always going to be smaller. It's going to be smaller. What about one like this? What about this one? -3/8 and -5/16. So, how can we do this? How can we do it, Leanne? What do we need to do first? We can't compare these yet. They're really hard to compare. What can we do first? Chase. We multiply times 2. What is that called? Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? Chase? Yeah, to make our denominators the same. So we multiply everything on this side times 2, right? What's -3 times 2? Chase again. -6. So we get -6/16, and we get -5/16. Which one's bigger? Which one is bigger? Dominic? Yes, -5/16. The problem a lot of people have is they say, oh, 6 is bigger than 5, so 6 is the answer. But it gets a little bit trickier when we're in the negatives, yes? Exactly, this one is more to the right. That one is more to the right. Now, let's look at guided practice just for a second. Let's look at guided practice just for a second. Look at...
Quick question real quick before you start.
We have -6.7 and we have -6 7/10. What is 7/10 as a decimal, Dominic? It's not 7.1. That's a good guess, Emmett. 0.7. So we get -6.7 and -6.7. So what are these? Equal, yes. So now what I want from you, this one. One more thing, because this is also on your homework. If you look at 5 or 6, it says order the numbers from least to greatest. I want to look at number 6 for this one because it's a little tricky. So it's actually not that bad. But we have 2.1 going on forever, -2.1, 2 and 1/11ths, and -2. First of all, we can already plug in our negatives. What's the least number? What has the least amount of value? What money? Which one? Kyle. Yes, -2.1 is the smallest. Then what? Then what comes next? What comes next also, Kyle? -2, exactly. Those are our negatives. Now, these ones are in different format. This is 2.1 going on forever, and this is 2 and 1/11. So we have to figure out what 1/11th is equal to. So that's how we do this, 1/11th, right? So we carry on. It goes in 0 times, we do our 0. It goes in another 0 times, we do another 0. Hey, look at this. Even if it goes in whatever amount of times, this one's already 2.1 exactly. This would have been, it has another 0 here. Do you see how it works like that? So no matter what, we don't even have to continue to solve because we got this first one in the 10th place to be a 0 and this 10th place is a 1. We already know that this is going to be less, 2 and 1/11th, and then 2.1 for infinity. 2.1 for infinity. So what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to do your homework. Homework is page 391 and 392 because some of you forget to do that. If you're having trouble with your homework, come to me and I will help you.